Good evening, everybody. It is Halloween. It is that time of the year where things go bump in the night. And you know what's going on with this channel. We are going to look at the scariest matches in wrestling history. Some of these are frightening, some of these are horrifying, some of these are terrifying, but they're scary for one reason or another. Number 15, yes, we've got 15. Number 15, the Zombie Lumberjack match at WrestleMania Backlash. Now, it's very, very simple why this match is terrifying, and that would be because it's the only match where The Miz ever got injured. Period. This match took place at WrestleMania Backlash. It was sponsored by Army of the Dead, the Zack Snyder movie that was coming out. It was The Miz versus Damian Priest, and it was a shit show. This was during the pandemic, and The Miz not only lost, but he tore his ACL. So for you wrestling history aficionados, when they ask you what was the only match where The Miz was injured in, this is that match. Number 14, the ambulance match. Now, the ambulance match is going to be one of the many matches on this list that is a match fought under hardcore rules, and essentially there are no pinfalls, no submissions, no DQs, no countouts, and the only way to win is to force their opponent in the back of an ambulance and close the door. Essentially, you have to beat your opponent down so badly that they have to be taken to a hospital, or in the words of the WWE, a local medical facility. We've had multiple ambulance matches, with many of them taking place in the WWE. We had one at the first one took place at Survivor Series 2003 between Kane and Shane McMahon. We had one at the Elimination Chamber. We had one that was part of Three Stages of a Hell match between Cena and Ryback, and we recently had one last year in NXT. Number 13, a Boiler Room Brawl. And this is a classic match. This is kind of considered part of the cinematic match type, and a Boiler Room Brawl is a match that takes place in just that, a boiler room, with the first wrestler being successful in getting out. You don't need to pin, you don't need to submit anybody, you just need to get out of the boiler room. This is no disqualifications, no falls, no countouts. But the most famous Boiler Room Brawl taking place between Mick Foley and the Big Show. This took place at Mick Foley and I guess the Mick Foley Big Show match is the one it's more iconic than the Mick Foley Undertaker match. But this joint crazy. You're in the boiler room. You know it's in the boiler room. It's hot. It's sweaty. It's just not a good way to be in. Next up, the Inferno Match. Now, essentially, you know what the Inferno Match is. No disqualifications, no submissions, no countouts. The ring is surrounded by fire, and once the wrestlers enter the ring, the only way to win is to set your opponent on fire. These matches have taken place in many promotions. The WWE used to do them for a good minute. They usually involve The Undertaker, Kane, and Bray Wyatt. And the thing with this match is, the person, when they get lit on fire, they're almost getting lit on fire outside of the ring, almost every single time, because you can't be lit on fire inside the ring. It's scary. It's absolutely terrifying. Number 11, the Casket Match. This match is the match after it could almost kind of go hand in hand. Well, the Casket Match is another match where no pinfalls, no submissions, no count out. Essentially, you have to beat your opponent so bad have to lock them in a casket, which leads us to number 10, the Buried Alive match. Now, the Buried Alive match, and like I said, the casket match could go hand in hand, and the Buried Alive match probably could be higher on this list. Essentially, you have to beat your opponents into a grave and then dump dirt on them. Period. Let that sink in. You're being buried alive. It's absolutely terrifying. Next up, number 9, the Hell in a Cell match. This is a classic match that the WWE has done time and again and pretty much run into the ground at this point. But the Hell in the Cell match, and not the Elimination Chamber match, is on this. The Hell in a Cell, when in its infancy, was absolutely terrifying because the things they would do to hurt each other. You are in the ring surrounded by a giant steel cage with a roof on it, and none of us will ever forget The Undertaker and Mankind, and The Undertaker absolutely murdering Mankind. Number 8, the Monsters Ball match. Now, this match is a TNA specialty. Essentially, what happens is the participants, there could be any number of participants, are locked in a room for 24 hours. No food, no water, no lights. Essentially, you're quote unquote driven to insanity. You're then released, and you take all that anger, that rage, that fuel for it all, and you take it out on your opponent. And there have been some Monsters Ball matches that have really truly stood the test of time. The main participant of this match has been Abyss, as this was his specialty. He has wrestled in 48 of them. It is his signature match. The match almost always involves thumbtacks, Janice, which is a board filled with nails, which is Abyss's signature weapon, and a bed of barbed wires. It's a hardcore match. It's a weapons and courage match, and you can only win by pinfall or submission. Number 7, the Lights Out match. Now, this match is essentially scary because, well, it's an unsanctioned match. The unsanctioned match is essentially a match that is not part of the rule books. It's not regulated. You sign essentially you sign a waiver saying that whatever happens. You do not hold the company liable. It's pretty much like almost close to being a death match, but even death matches are regulated. Unsanctioned matches, lights out matches, no DQ, nothing in the arena, and you're just given the way to beat the holy hell out of each other. Number 6, War Games, or as AEW calls it, Blood and Guts. War Games is another cage match where there are 2 rings connected to each other, surrounded by a steel cage. And CZW took this to an even extreme with the CZW Cage of Death match, where the ring is littered with weapons, the cage is electrified, and there's tables and light tubes. You know CZW, they go hard. The War Games Blood and Guts matches almost always feature teams of 4 or 5 facing each other, usually some form of factions and people going against a faction, but they go hard, and we've had a bunch of them recently. It was an old WCW NWA staple, but Lord, they can be really, really entertaining. Number 5, 3 Stages of Hell. The 3 Stages of Hell match is essentially a Hell in a Cell match where there's one big cell, and then there's a smaller cell on top, and then a smaller cell on top of that. I'm talking about that match, not the 3 Stages of Hell match where you choose 3 different stipulations, which are always fun. what, the 3 stages of hell match, man, whew, imagine going to the tippy top of that. This was really big in WCW. This was taken to an extreme there and kind of became a staple for them. Next up, we have the light bulb match, and this one, oh my lord, the light tubes are a version of the death match where there are usually around about 200 long cylindrical glass fluorescent light tubes attached to the ring ropes with tape, and you just use them. This is dangerous because it's poisonous, carcinogenic chemicals, glass that can get anywhere and everywhere. The shards of broken glass is really what makes this match really dangerous and scary. And of course, you know who really did this match, and that would be CZW. ECW used to do it as well. Number 3, the Scaffold Match. The Scaffold Match is scary. Tables everywhere, scaffolding hung from the ceiling, and you're definitely fighting up there just for the big spot. It's terrifying. ECW really did this and really showed up and showed out and put people on notice with this match. And after being in the ECW arena, I always thought, the arena was huge, and it's not. And that's credit to Paul Heyman for making the match in the arena look much bigger than it actually was. Number 2, Barb Wire Death Match. Now, the Barbed Wire Death Match is essentially a death match where the ring ropes are replaced with barbed wire. And that's just terrifying. Running to them, using them as weapons, tying your opponent up. And then this was used in CZW, used a lot in ECW. The barbed wire death match, the barbed wire massacre are just scary and terrifying, but it's also kind of safe because you can fake the barbed wire. But number one, the explosion bomb, exploding barbed wire, wherever you want to call it, death match. This is scary. Why? You can be blown up. The ropes are usually barbed wire, so there's blood, and there are boards placed in the corner with barbed wire with little traces, little amounts of C4 on them. The match can only be won by pinfall or submission, or getting your opponent blown up. Again, you're getting blown up. Period. I don't know what's scarier than that. Bombs, blood, barbed wire. Terrifying. But that's the list. Let me know if you think I missed anything. There are a couple matches that I purposely didn't put on here, just I don't think they fit. But the matches on this list, truly terrifying, including the one where the Miz towards ACL. But that is it. Everybody, come back every week for the High Risk Wrestling Podcast every Saturday and the High Risk Wrestling Recap every Sunday. Peace.